But me, Louie T. Welcome to the 2019 NFL postseason coverage here on the Louie T Network. Wall-to-wall postseason coverage here on the Louie T Network. Of course, I'm your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me as we are now in the divisional round of the postseason. We've knocked down 3 out of the 4 matchups, both Saturday games, the first game on Sunday. Now let's wrap up the divisional round with a game that I think has the chance to be the one outlier of the weekend. I know. I've been guilty of this numerous times, and I've even got people telling me, bruh, just say the Eagles are going to win so they can lose. That's not in my DNA. I say how I feel, and I mean what I say. And so I'm not going to make up something for the hopes of them losing because I am the jinx or something like that. That's hogwash. Get out of my face with that. What I'm going to say tonight, though, is probably going to ruffle a lot of feathers. Did you see what I just did? I got to stop going over y'all head, man. I'm too nice with these words. So it's going to ruffle a few feathers tonight, and I'm okay with that. Attack me, Eagles fans. I'm fine, all right? I will be here. You know where to find me, right or wrong. You know I'm going to be here, and I'm going to sing my song. So at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you how I feel. And look, let me say something before we even get into the keys to victory, and I talk about this game and give you my prediction. For those of you out there thinking that if Nicholas Foles somehow takes this team to another Super Bowl and wins, that he's going to supplant Carson Wentz and that they need to get rid of Wentz and keep Nicholas Foles, you're drunk. And whatever you're drinking, can you pass me some? I'd like to take a couple sips. You're drunk, all right? Nicholas Foles is still Nicholas Foles, all right? And somebody's going to get duped into giving this man copious amounts of money. He's going to do the same thing he did when he went to the Rams and stunk it up. And he's going to conjure up this whole big idea about retirement. And maybe Andy Reid can go save him again. All right, he's the same dude that started out the season 1-1 and made the Eagles rush back Carson Wentz. Like, hey, Carson, you ready to go against the Colts? Well, I could use another. Good. We're going to game plan for you to start this week. Okay, coach. Yeah, it's the same guy that lost to Tampa Bay on the road early in the season and barely beat the goddamn Atlanta Falcons in week 1. It's the same guy. Now, he plays better somehow, some way, magically. He turns it up. And he goes into this phone booth and puts on a cape, and all of a sudden, he becomes Big Dick Nick. And all of a sudden, he's winning games come January into February. But I'm telling you, he's still Nicholas Foles. This shit hasn't changed. And that gets me to my keys to victory. And we start with the Eagles. They are the road team. And first thing first, BDN. Big Dick Nick. Big Dick Nick. That's what they call him. And you know what? I'm not mad at Big Dick Nick, all right? I'm not mad at Nicholas Foles for what he's done. Pause. I'm not mad at what he's done over this stretch this year and last year at the end of the season. But I'm just telling you, that's a sock down there. That's not what Nick is packing. That's a sock. And somebody's going to get fooled into thinking, oh, man, he's huge. Pause. No, that's a sock, bruh. You've been duped. You've been had. You just got took. You got punked. Anyway, I digress. If Nick Foles continues to play the way he's played, if Nicholas continues to be the guy that he was last year at the end of the season and this year, and somehow, some way pulls another goddamn rabbit out of his hat in Nolans, I'm with my girl Reby. They're going to win the whole thing again. Or at least get to the Super Bowl again. I can't say they're going to win the whole thing, but they're going to get to the Super Bowl again. If they beat the Saints in New Orleans, you got me, hands up. I'm going to quit doubting this football team. This is a tall task and a tough ask of these Eagles. But I can tell you this much. Nicholas Foles has lived up to the moniker of Big Dick Nick. And I'm telling you, the dude somehow finds a way to win. That final drive versus the Bears last week, shit, man. You got me, man. But this isn't the Bears. And these boys aren't scared. The Bears played scared last week. We'll get into that more as we go through this breakdown. But you need Nick to show up and be the Nick that you've come to know and love the last 2 seasons. Not Nicholas Foles that I know is in there and capable of effing shit up. Put a little bit of pressure on him. You get down behind early. Nick is not the same guy. So we'll see if he's able to do what he's done over the last 2 late season runs. He's been extraordinary, though. I must give him credit. The next big key to the game is resistance versus the early fade. Look, excuse me. The Saints are going to come out juiced. That crowd is going to be raucous. It's going to be loud. It's going to be deafening. And unlike unlike some other stadiums where you may be able to sneak a couple of Eagles fans in there and, yeah, fly Eagles, fly. That shit is not happening in the Dome. In New Orleans, they shut that shit down. It's nothing but crazy New Orleans Saints fans. It's going to be a raucous crowd. And that first quarter, if you can somehow withstand that run, it's almost like going to Golden State. And that first quarter barrage, when the crowd at Oracle is roaring and Steph and Clay and Katie are knocking down trays left and right and they're getting in transition and you're like, shit, they just scored 42 first quarter points. You're cooked. You're done. You're dead. If you can find a way to not allow the Saints to get off to a fast start. Matter of fact, if you can do what you did last week, take the opening kickoff, move it and march it right down the field and get in the end zone and quiet the crowd and say, hey, we here. Just in case you forgot who we are. We are the defending Super Bowl champs. And we in the building. We here. If you do that this week and you resist the early fade, you got a chance to win this game. Last week, that opening drive of the game announced to the Bears, we don't give a damn about your defense. F your defense. Take this touchdown. And what that did was it put the Bears on their heels. Even though they would rebound and it would ultimately be a low-scoring game and you wouldn't score another touchdown until the last drive offensively for you in the game, it still sent a message to the Bears. One that I thought kind of knocked them off balance a little bit. You got to resist the early fade. That crowd and that environment is going to be threatening early. And if you can go in and hush that crowd and keep yourself in that game up until halftime like you did against the Bears last week, you're going to give yourself a chance to steal this game late again. Go to the next key to victory. Graham Bennett Long Cox. Are we talking football still? Like, I feel like this is a porno all of a sudden. Big Dick Nick, Long Cox. Get your heads out of the gutter, people. I'm talking about the defensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to have to dominate up front, all right? They got to get to Drew Brees. The last time we saw Drew Brees uncomfortable, they went to Dallas and they laid a nasty, stinking egg and lost in dominant fashion. The Cowboys thoroughly dominated them in that football game. All right, score doesn't even begin to indicate the way that they were dominated in that football game. The Cowboys got to Brees, and I haven't seen Brees that uncomfortable all season long. Now, that game was in Dallas, and the two games that we've seen this season, three if you want to throw in the Bucs, even though they got their act together in the second half. You want to throw in the Bucs game, you sure can. Go right ahead, knock yourself out. The games in which Brees looked uncomfortable, they were all on the road. This is not a road game. I haven't seen him look very uncomfortable at home. The Steelers, I thought, did a really good job of making him uncomfortable at times. But for the most part, he was comfortable enough to help them win that football game. Bottom line is, at home, Drew Brees has been masterful this season. And if you can't get to Drew Brees, he's going to carve up that Eagles secondary. I know they played well last week, and despite Mitchell Trubisky throwing for 300 yards, they held their own. Yep, they bit on some double moves. Yep, they gave up some big plays down the field, but they didn't give up the touchdowns. They didn't give up the massive breakdowns that allowed the Bears to run away with that football game. You give up those same plays this week, you bite down on a double move this week, that's going to probably result in 6. And if it doesn't, and it's a big play and it's a chunk play, probably going to end up being a drive that ends in 6. These are not the Bears. This is not Mitchell Trubisky. You F around this game and you'll get 37-44 put on your skulls. And you know all about that in the Dome now, don't you? Going right along to the next key to victory. Mighty Might and until it hurts. Look, I think two of the biggest keys to you having success on the offensive side of the football is getting the football to Darren Sproles and also to Zach Ertz. I know Alshon Jeffrey never, ever trust a man with 2 first names. Was huge last week. I expect them to sick Marshon Lattimore on his ass this week, and I don't expect to hear a lot out of Alshon this week. I do think Golden Tate and Nelson Aguilar could have some success against Eli Apple and company, the other corners on this Saints defense. But Alshon Jeffrey, I think he's going to be relatively quiet. I'd be surprised if he makes a lot of noise because I think they're going to sick Marshon Lattimore on his ass in this football game. That being said, the guys that they can't sick someone on and stop them are Sproles and Ertz. And I think those are 2 matchups. If you're the Eagles, you need to try to exploit in this football game. I think you can win those matchups consistently throughout this game, and I think it will give you a chance to hang around and potentially steal this game at the end. And finally, TNT. It's really simple. Turnovers and touchdowns. You can't make them. You got to force them, and you can't give them up, and you need them. Hey, look, at the end of the day, the easiest way to get your ass whooped in this game is to turn it over, succumb to the pressure of the Saints defense and the crowd and the environment, allow the Saints to create turnovers, get short fields for an already dynamic and explosive offense, and give them a free pass to the end zone. Turn it over if you like. Go ahead. Go right ahead. Turn it over. Do what you did last week. Have 2 interceptions. I don't give a shit how they come. Turn it over. See if you win this game. You are not scoring 18 points and winning this week. I assure you of this. So you kicking field goals instead of scoring touchdowns? That shit is not going to fly. No, it won't be fly, Eagles, fly. Be fly your ass back home. You lost. You have to score touchdowns in this game. The Saints are not to be played with at the crib. You want to beat the Saints in New Orleans, it's going to take at least 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals. That's 27. Straight up. You want to win in New Orleans, at least, you can't, if you don't come to the table with 27, don't even bother wasting your breath. Don't slide that piece of paper across the table. If it ain't 27, just as a minimum baseline to get you at the table, you don't even get a seat at the table without 27. So don't show up thinking 16 is enough this week. Or 18, excuse me, is enough this week, because it's not. It's not. So you got to score touchdowns, and you can't have the turnovers. Drew Brees, boy, he doesn't turn it over at home very often. Now, you may be able to poke one free from Michael. You may be able to poke one free from Michael Thomas, or you might be able to poke one free from Ingram. But Drew Brees isn't throwing too many interceptions at the crib. I'm just telling you. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Force turnovers, though. Find a way. And even if you don't get any turnovers, just don't turn it over your damn self. That's going to give you the best shot to try to win in this football game. Simple as that. So you go from the Eagles and their keys to victory to the Saints. And it's really simple for me. I got one key to victory. Just do what the hell you did last time. When you beat them, what was it, 48-7? Something like that, 45-7, some shit like that. Just do that same shit over again and you'll win the game. Nah, I'm bullshit. Nah. First key to victory, start fast. I just talked about the environment, and it's going to be raucous, and they're going to be looking to help this Saints team get off to a fast start. If you're able to jump the Eagles right out the gate 14-0 before they blink, you got them. This is not a dynamic, explosive Eagles offense that is made to come from behind. They want to either be in the game or they want to be front runners. That's when they're at their best. You look at their postseason run last year, they were never behind big in any game. They were either out in front or they were right there, hanging tough. Put some pressure on them early, and I would love to see how Nicholas Foles reacts to being down 14-0 or 17-3 or hell, 21-7. I'd love to see how he reacts to being down big. Start fast. The crowd is going to be amped. It's going to be loud. Start fast. Next key to victory for the Saints. Excuse me. You got the home field advantage. Now it's back to back. Now it's back to back. Hopefully you busting the Eagles' ass and it's back to that. We'll see. But what I'm talking about here is you got Kamara and you got Ingram. You got 2 backs going back to back. I felt like the Bears, and this was where I thought they really did themselves a big disservice last week. They didn't. One of my keys to victory for them was Coco Gadget Cohen. They had to get Tariq Cohen involved. I think the man only had like 4 touches in the game, if you can believe that. Like, I thought that their game plan was so flawed on so many different levels. Tariq Cohen may be your best player offensively. He may be your most explosive player offensively, and they just didn't get him the ball enough. And I didn't really care in what capacity. You saw the return he had late in the game. They didn't get to him enough. He had a nice little route where he ran up the seam, and they got him the ball there. They didn't get it to him enough. He was a difference maker in that game, and they just failed to get him the rock in the game enough. Well, you've got 2 difference-making backs. You've got Mark Ingram, and you've got Alvin Kamara. You have to get those guys the football. And really, Kamara is the one that I think they have no answer for. But I think you can run it a little bit. But look, the Eagles stopped the run. So I don't know if Ingram will be as big a part of the offense. But I can tell you this much. If you start out throwing a football and you start spreading them out, and they start to realize, damn, we got to stop Drew Brees in this passing game, maybe it'll open up some lanes in the run game for you. I was quite surprised at how many times Jordan Howard was on the precipice of busting a big run off last week. He was 1 shoestring tackle away from busting about 3 20 to 30, maybe even 40-yard runs in that game last week. He was this close at least 3 times. If you get those same opportunities, Ingram is out the gate for 88 on the backside of those things. And so I look for your backs to have a big game against these Eagles. If you want to win, take advantage of some opportunities with your backs. Go back to back. Those guys are dominant football players when utilized correctly. Nobody uses their running backs better in the league to me than these Saints. This is a great opportunity for them to get off in this football game. Cool breeze. You better listen to your corner and watch for the hook. What y'all know about that? Look, I'm going to stop dropping these references on y'all because y'all don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. So I'm going to stop. But I'm going to tell you right now, Drew Brees is as cool as the other side of the pillow at the crib. Now, that dude on the road that gets flustered a little bit, I don't know him. I don't know that guy. That's why it was so important for the Saints to get home field advantage. This Drew at the crib, I know this dude. He's very dangerous. And I expect him to be just as cool in this game as I've ever seen him, with a chance to potentially get back to the Super Bowl and really cement his legacy and stake his claim as one of the best quarterbacks. He's got records, and he's going to probably have more when he retires. And I still don't know if he gets the respect he deserves. But I'll tell you this much. Win another Super Bowl, and all of a sudden the conversation then switches. You'll hear the, is Drew Brees being underrated? All those conversations start to come up. You win the Super Bowl this year. I think he's going to have a great chance to shred this Eagles defense because, like I said, if they don't get pressure, they're not good in the back half. You can have a field day. I'm anxious to see if they're able to protect up front. And if you run the football well, that's going to allow the Eagles, or excuse me, it's going to stop the Eagles from pinning their ears back and being aggressive coming up the field. I think it's going to give Brees even more time to survey the field and find his favorite guy, who is the next key, which is Killer Mike. All right? Look, you already know going into the game. You already know. Glitter, glisten, gloss, floss. He catch the ball running like Randy Moss. You already know what this dude do. Don't let Mike kill you. Again, another one that y'all just didn't get just now. And it's fine. It's okay. I'm going to stop. I promise. That was the last one. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you allow Mike to kill you, like he did the first time, I don't know if he killed you the first. Everybody killed you. You lost 48-7. Everybody killed you the last time. He had to kill you. I'm going to tell you right now, if Mike goes off, you lose. You lose. I'm just telling you, unless the Saints turn it over 3 times. If Michael Thomas has 7 grabs for $148 and 2 touchdowns, you lose. If Michael Thomas has 11 catches for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns, you lose. Now, if Michael Thomas has 7 catches for 77 yards and 1 touchdown, you might still win. I'm just telling you, if the man goes bananas on you, you lose. Because he's the one guy at receiver that can kill you. Yeah, I know they got Ted Ginn Jr. back, and I know they got some other guys. Who gives a shit about those other guys? You know, the next best receiver they have is Benjamin Watson, and he's 97 years old. If you allow Mike to kill you, you deserve to lose. It's really simple. So, Killer Mike, is a big part of this game for the Saints. Because if he goes bananas, it's all downhill for the Eagles from there. So another key to the game is for Mike to get off. And finally, dominate the line of scrimmage. And really, that's on both sides of the football. You got to protect Breeze. You got to open up holes in the run game. On the offensive side, on the defensive side, if you can get to Nicholas Foles, I'm telling you right now, he's going to toss up a couple for grabs like he did last week. He's going to give you an opportunity to pick a couple off. That's Nicholas Foles. That's why I don't get all the hysteria about Nicholas Foles, because Nicholas Foles is still the same dude that be throwing shit up for grabs when you put pressure on his ass. Now, I can tell you this much. If you allow the Eagles to stay ahead of down and distance, Nicholas Foles will carve your ass up. He is great in the RPO. He's great at getting the football out of his hands quickly. So if it's 3rd and 6, he's going to convert that shit. If it's 3rd and 4, he's going to convert that shit. If it's 3rd and 11, that's when you got Nicholas Foles right where you want him. That's when you got him right where you want him. And I got a feeling the Saints aren't going to be as passive as the Bears were on 3rd and 11 and let Alshon Jeffrey run through zone coverage and catch a pass and get 14 yards. I doubt that seriously. So I'm anxious to see if the Saints can dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football, because I think that's going to be a huge part of this game. If the Eagles are able to stop the run and then come after Breeze, they could be in some trouble in this game. Got to dominate the line of scrimmage if you are the New Orleans Saints. First order of business, though, protect Breeze. You protect Breeze, and it's just going to open up a world of opportunity for you in this game. You don't protect Breeze. We saw Breeze act a fool on a Thursday night versus the Cowboys. Don't have a repeat of that. So I said all of that to say this. My prediction for this game is I don't think it's going to be close. I just don't. I know the first time you went into the Dome, it wasn't Nicholas Foles. It wasn't this Eagles team. They didn't have the confidence that they have now. I know it's different. I know. But I still don't see you going into New Orleans and winning. And honestly, I don't think this is going to be all that close. I got the Saints winning this one 33-20. I think that they're the better football team. I think they're going to prove it. They're at home. I keep trying to tell people and explain to them that this home field advantage for the Saints is real. You know, their only loss of the season at home came to Tampa Bay in week 1. They start slow. They're notorious slow starters in the season. I really feel like they're going to come out, establish themselves early. And again, if this game is close at halftime, then the Eagles have the Saints right where they want them. But I think this game is going to be something like 23-10 at halftime. And I think they're going to score another 10. The Eagles are going to score another 10 in the second half. And I think they're going to not necessarily cruise, but they're going to have a comfortable lead. And they're going to win this game 33-20 to advance to the NFC Championship, where they should have been last year. I think they're going to get it done this year. Hey, look, Eagles fans, come on. Bring it on. Come on. I know you're out there. You're going to slay me. I'm cool with that. Leave it in the comment section. I'm looking forward to it. And again, if you prove me wrong and I got to eat crow, you know where to find me. I'm not going to hide. So it's all good. Come and find me. Come and ridicule me. I can take it. I'm a big boy. I can take it. All right? I'll be here. You know where to find me. I'm not running. But I don't expect to have to, because I expect to be right. I was wrong last week. But this isn't last week, okay? These aren't the Bears. These are the Saints. This is a totally different animal, totally different juggernaut. Not a first-year coach, not a quarterback making his first career postseason start. This ain't that, all right? You got a team that didn't know how to handle the success that they had built throughout the regular season. They didn't know what to do with that. Let me get that win, shorty. You don't know what to do with that. Let me get that. You took it from them. They didn't know what to do with that. The Saints know what to do with this. They on a mission. Just like you on a mission, they on a mission. Except they're hungrier than you are. You ate last year. They starving over there. So you got to take this L. But I'm your man, Louie T. Signing off. Remember, if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage it could be. Make sure you subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content if you haven't already done so. And also, check out the Louie T Network podcast. If you love this video, if you love the flamboyance and you love the energy, then you're going to love the Louie T Network podcast. Make sure you check that out. A lot of the same going on there as well. So, you know where to find me when the game's over. Overtime series directly at the game's end. I'll be there breaking it down live and taking your comments on the air. So find me. Come and get at me. I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. You guys have a good one. And I look forward to chopping it up with you when this game meets its conclusion. Have a good one.